Have you got ADHD and wanting to get some support from psychotherapy? At the moment, when someone gets their diagnosis, often they are offered therapy or medication or both. My name is Laura. I'm a psychotherapist here in the UK, making videos on how to access therapy and use therapy for what you want it to do to make therapy more effective for you. Today, I'm talking about ADHD and how therapy might not be the fix that you might have thought it might be for ADHD. So, when someone gets their ADHD diagnosis, whether they've known for a long time and been diagnosed as a child, or if it's someone who has found out later in life and things have started to make sense, might get the referral to go to a therapist. ADHD is a lifelong condition. Sometimes it can resolve in adulthood, but usually it's a lifelong condition. And it's not an illness. It's not something that can be cured. It's just a different way that your brain works. So your brain can't access dopamine as readily as neurotypical brains. And so you're going to have some issues with attention span, memory, focus, and if you've got the inattentive and hyperactive type, then you might not be able to sit still for a very long time. So let me try and keep today brief. So when we go to therapy, we're not looking to cure ADHD. What we're coming to is peace with our ADHD. We're coming to understand ourselves. And so when you start to look at yourself honestly and be open to maybe this is the way that I am and it's not something that I can fix, then we come to acceptance and we come to a place where we can actually explore ourselves in a way that might not have happened in the past when we didn't know this about ourselves. So sometimes when someone comes to therapy and they've got ADHD, instead of having a reduction in symptoms, their symptoms might get more intense. And that is because they give themselves freedom to be themselves. If they've constantly been pushing themselves to try and get somewhere on time, to not lose things, to make sure that they're behaving in a way that seems neurotypical, finally they can accept themselves and it might not feel as important to try and fit into that neurotypical box. They're subconsciously been putting themselves in all this time. And so you might notice an increase in symptoms rather than a decrease. It's my proposal that possibly when people do see a decrease in symptoms, that it could be to do with healing trauma. And so when you have gone through trauma as a child or as an adult, it can create some of this executive dysfunction that looks like ADHD, or it might be ADHD and trauma. And so when we start to heal the trauma, it means that we have more capacity. And so when we're thinking about how can we move forward, we're putting in some support, but actually what we're putting in support for is for you to be yourself and to accept yourself and to know yourself and to be known and accepted. So when you go to therapy and you notice that symptoms start to either improve or get worse, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's not a problem if things get worse. It's that this is actually what you've been striving and working really hard all of this time to try and fit into the society that wasn't really made for you, and that's okay. And if things get better, I'm glad that things are easier for you, and I'm glad that that's working. When we have some issue with problems from ADHD, sometimes you can be suggested some coping techniques. That's not the type of therapy that I do, but many other modalities will offer you some support in tools and techniques. With these, I would say use it for as long as it works for, because it's going to help you to a point. And when it stops working, try and notice as soon as possible. And if you can notice that it stopped working, that means that you can look for something else rather than just thinking, well, I don't do that anymore and it's not working. You're acknowledging, okay, It worked for the time that it did, and it might be a week, might be a month, might be a year. I don't know. If it works, great. Run with it. Use it for as long as you can. And then when it stops working, accept that. That's okay. I got some good use out of it, but now my brain's no longer excited by it. It no longer releases dopamine for me to do this thing that I thought was really great and that worked for me. So I'm gonna go and find something else, try something different. And there are so many different things that you can do. And this is one of the reasons because not all of them work for every person with ADHD, and all of them have an expiration for people with ADHD because they crave that novelty. Let me know how your therapy after you've had your diagnosis or while you've been waiting for a referral maybe has been going, and if you've either noticed an increase in symptoms or a decrease, and how that's been for you, and if you've been able to come to terms with accepting the way that your brain works rather than trying to change the way that your brain works. Thank you.